Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Lessons, brought to you by the Young Digital Managers Association. I'm Anjali Gupta. I'm your host for the evening, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we're about to do. Every month on this podcast, we sit down with a leader who's shaped industries, navigated transformation, and reinvented themselves along the way. These are leaders who remind us that careers are not necessarily linear. And if I may say, leadership is not just a position, you know? So we run this webinar for about 45 minutes. And then for the last 15 minutes, our guest will answer your questions that you can drop into the chat during the course of the session or towards the end of the session, right? And I will personally ask these questions and ask the hard questions because I love asking our guests the hard questions, right? Today, I have the privilege of speaking with someone whose journey embodies exactly what I've been talking about, the transformation, the reinvention, navigating through all of that. He is a technologist by trade, he is a leader by heart, and he is a mentor by choice. So joining us today is Mr. Rajesh Jani, a leader whose career spans over almost 4 decades. And this career has been at the intersection of technology, of transformation, and of enterprise growth. Rajesh has served in pivotal leadership roles across global organizations, including Net, EMC, Dell. And today, he plays multiple strategic roles as independent director on committees of CII, AmCham. And of course, I love this bit. When most people are hanging up their boots, he has taken on a new challenge of becoming an entrepreneur. He is co-founder of CoreOps.ai, a company that modernizes systems, automates operations through their AI-driven platform. Now, what makes Rajesh the ideal voice for this session is his rare combination, like I explained, of board-level insight, of entrepreneurial agility, and his deep experience in building high-performance teams. So, like I said, he's led organizations through disruption, scaled businesses in complex markets. He's mentored leaders across industries, and he now advises CEOs and founders. So, in short, Rajesh brings the wisdom of a corporate veteran, the clarity of a strategist, and so important, the curiosity of a founder. Exactly the blend needed for a meaningful conversation on leadership today. So, with that, I want to open the questions to Rajesh. Now, Rajesh, yours has been a leadership journey that has spanned over a few decades, right? So, if you had to describe your own leadership evolution per decade, what was it in the 90s, then the 2000s, then the 2010s? Some of the folks on this may not even have started their careers then, right? 2020s. What would those be and how has that evolved?
Hey, Anjali, first of all, thank you very much for this warm introduction and YDMA platform. Thank you for the opportunity. I think this is my honor and privilege to be here. Uh, you spoke about people who may not have started their career. Nowadays, I'm dealing with people who were not even born when I started working, no startup, right? So that's the reality of the things. Now, if I were to look back, I started my career way back in 1984 in HCL on a shop floor. I was testing component level uh, debugging of the computers and everything else. There were no computers, that's why there was something else. So anyway, uh, so my whole experience has been experiential, so to say. The whole learning has been experiential, learning on the job sort of a thing. And therefore, when I speak to you, I might come up with stories or anecdotes which are related to my experience to put more context around it. Do not take it as, and for the audience, like, do not take it as it's and I'm talking of stories. Those are, uh, what should I say, my experiences, and I just want to drive them as stories to drive the point home. And if you can't, I mean, if you find it boring, take it as blabberings of an old man and just share with me. So that's all my request. Now, coming back to my experiences, I would say 80 was when I bootstrapped. I started working. So it was all about leadership by doing, rolling up my sleeves, and building credibility and building trust around, right? And that is when I realized it is trust is built through action and not by pure words. That was 80s. 90s was, I would say, a decade where I became a first time manager, and late 90s, I handled a very large team and a merger. So, but all in services. I've spent one third of my life in a career, working career in services, customer services, and not selling and all. And later I switched. So early 90s was the one when I became a manager, first time manager, and good part was my previous manager. So I joined PCL as a company, which I don't know many of you are familiar or not. I left Wipro and joined PCL to be a people manager. And my boss at Wipro was so nice. He said, "You're becoming manager for the first time. If you want coaching, keep coming to me every month and I'll give you tips." And he was very nice. And he gave me things about diarizing sessions, how delegation is important. And delegation was the key thing that I learned as my first time role. Uh, because otherwise what happens is I was very good an engineer, a customer service engineer. The tendency is to jump in front of an engineer and do it yourself rather than letting him do it. So that ability to step back is what I learned. Late 90s, I would say I got a team of 68 people, and 99 saw digital and compact merger. So that was a big learning as well. So if I were to put simply 90s, it was in a sentence, strong IC to a team builder. Okay. So I would say if 80s was bootstrap, 90s was first time manager. 2000 was truly a transformational decade for me. This is when I left HPE and took a punt on joining EMC, which had only 20 people in the country, not even a development center, nothing, a storage company, which very few people knew. And my boss that time was, most of you heard him speak on this forum, Manoj Chugh. So the joke was EMC stands for Empire of Manoj Chugh. And customers didn't know who was EMC. Much later, it became much known, right? So I took that punt. And I would say this is the decade when I moved from being a builder to a leader, from building a business to leading. So 2004 was EMC, but 2009 is the one when I became first time country manager, right? And that's where I would say 2000 was, and 2009 is when I became first time country manager in NetApp. And that's when you start learning different trades, not only handling the teams internally and customers and partners, but also managing various stakeholders like media, analysts, industry subgroups, and everything else. That was a big, big shift for me individually. 2010s was the one where I would say the move became sort of much bigger. 2010 is when I came back to EMC as country head. 2015 is when Dell and EMC announced merger. 2016, that merger got consummated. So that was the decade, I would say. I became a purpose-driven leader, focused on vision, culture, and clarity, right? And the whole idea was the entire team can focus on the common goal that we were going towards. And I provide that leadership kind of. This was the biggest tech merger ever. So I have had the pleasure of living through three of the largest tech mergers: Digital, Compact, Compact HP, and I would say this was EMC Dell. This was probably the best merger I've lived through and I've learned. So this was also a transformation. So this is where I became a lot focused on transformation, change, everything else. 2020, if 80s was bootstrap, 2020 was a reboot decade, because 21 is when I left Dell to do something on my own. And we'll talk about motivation. The thing was, while we built and scaled businesses for global companies, we wanted to do something for us, and that's how the interest started. So this decade, 2020, is about reboot, about learning and restarting all over, and that's been my journey. So it's about digital first, learning obsessed is my thing. And if you guys are wondering where am I looking at, I'm looking at my notes. These are all handwritten, not Chat GPT generated. I just want my thought to be structured, otherwise I, I don't lose it. Yeah.
No, and I'm sure the participants deeply appreciate you providing thought and giving thought to something like this, Mr. Jani, because it's important for all of us to learn from how you have your journey has been. So, talk to us a little bit. So, you talked about your journey through the 90s, 2000s, and and your own growth and evolution. One belief about leadership that has stayed constant with you through these four decades, and perhaps also talk to us a little bit about that one belief that you thought was a leadership trait or believed that a leader should have, but now you've completely changed your mind about.
I mean, when you say leadership attributes are different, but leadership belief that I have stayed constant is that trust. Trust is the hardest currency. So people don't follow titles, they follow trust. And once you establish that currency with the team, with customers, with everyone around, every stakeholder, right? That is what helps build the growth. That's what makes the team. And that currency you carry forever. It's the foundation for it. That's the belief, it has not changed. The trust I earned with the team members allowed me an opportunity to even get aggressive with them, and nobody minded that. There have been situations in our QBR. I remember there was a joke, our quarterly business reviews. We went to a place called Silvassa, beautiful place. It kept raining. And our meeting ran from morning 9 till evening 9 on both days. And the guy said, Sir, kyun laaye the idhar? We could have sat in Bangalore, Delhi, any conference room. We have not even stepped out of the conference room. But it was the kind of trust that we had in each other that they could voice their opinion. And we said, yeah, but we are here for a purpose. Let's finish that purpose. So trust is what is important. And I have seen trust built with customers, and some of the attendees I would have dealt with as a seller or a leader or somewhere. So thank you for the business. So that trust still continues, because had I not delivered to their trust, today I can't walk into their office again. So that's one. You spoke about another thing, was that leadership belief that I've
Changed your mind
changed.
about.
Yeah. See, starting up, right, when you are from services, and especially when I was from services, and most of the IT leader, we all are from the same fraternity, right? Services. The biggest thing in services is you fix a thing, it's your job. There's no medal for that. It breaks down, then it is your fault. You have to fix it. So it's a very, very different thing. And therefore, you see leaders who are all alphas, right? These are leaders, aggressive, and you sort of, at least with my thing, I used to see, oh, okay, this guy is strong. He knows all the answers, and that's how I need to be. Later, I changed the belief, saying you don't have as a leader to have all the answers. Your team might have better answers. Our job is to create that environment of trust, as I said, and a platform where people feel fearless in voicing their opinion or even providing answers to where we may not have questions. The leader has to show that openness or sort of vulnerability, saying, I don't know. Do you have any better answers? Why don't we debate as a team and let's figure out how do we go about it? I think that's been the shift, I would say.
That's incredible, actually, because I think Steve Jobs also realized that at some point, hire really good people, and then you follow their advice because you're hiring the smartest people in the industry.
I mean, I used to use a term that make yourself redundant.
Yeah.
Can I just go away and things will work? Yeah, that's the true test. And this also means, sorry, I'm just blabbering. A thing which I practice, and one of the videos I've spoken about, is a positive dissent. It's important to encourage dissent, a positive dissent in your team, and let them disagree. let there be a different opinion. Because if everyone in the room is agreeing with you, that's a wrong team you got. Either they're too scared or we are all aligning on something wrong.
Yeah, differences and different opinions
Yeah,
matter.
absolutely.
So I'm going to go back to something you talked about, which is probably the technology industry's biggest merger ever, and a merger really between two organizations. Some of us can't even imagine it. It means integration of not just the business, but it means cultural change. It means growth pressure. Now, what does leading in such a scenario demand from a leader? You've been through it, right? So, what does it demand from a leader? Such a shift, such a
Hmm. When the biggest thing is communication. And if at all I've learned anything from the biggest merger, the best thing was about transparent communication. We held meetings and town halls, and that was more corporate driven. I say I was a party, so I saw it firsthand. And every month, every fortnight with leadership, it was said, okay, these are the things which we know. These are the areas which we are working on. We don't have the answers, but we'll figure out. So next call, they will say, okay, these answers we have figured out. There are a few more. So over communication was the key at a corporate level, at a strategic level. At our level, at operational ground level, what was important was telling the team to focus on what is in your control, that is controlling the controllables, and don't worry about what is not in your control. So basically, circle of concern, circle of influence. Every time we are in a merger, in a transformation, we start worrying about what will happen. We have to tell the people, hey, merger is a year away. That is how much time it takes for things to fall in place. And you are getting communication all along the way. But for this year, we have to deliver our best. We have to execute on what we promise to the customers. So, right? So the leadership suddenly has to align the organization around a simple goal and all stars. So simplify, cut out the noise. You don't control it. Do you control it? You don't. Do you control how the strategy will evolve? You don't. You can only act according to it. So just control the controllables, focus on what is supposed to be done, what we are supposed to do, and just stay put to your goal or North Star, as we called it. Just stay there. Right? That's where
nice.
it was. And many a times, and we'll speak about those things later. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Now, because our audience is both, they're part of high performing teams, them moving into being future leaders, but some of them are also leaders already building and scaling high performance teams. So, my question to you would be, how does one identify future leaders early? Is there a pattern that you've observed across the leaders that you have both coached and even promoted? This is both for the people on the group, on the participants who are future leaders themselves, and those who are already building and scaling future leaders.
Sure. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. There are leaders, there are building leaders. So my experience has showed me that leaders are the ones, I mean, the future leaders are one, they are leaders even before they get a title, right? So they are not limited by narrow job boundaries. Arey, ye mera kaam nahi hai. This is not my job. Why are you loading this onto my team? They are not even commissioned to do this. You should not be doing it. A leader will never say that. He'll say, okay, let's do it. Second, I've seen they are not shy of getting some challenging assignments. They will be the one who will ask for it. Can I do it for you? Give it to me. They're not shy of chasing what is called a big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs, right? So first they take the job more than, I mean, they are not limited by job description. Second, they are always up for challenges. Third, and more importantly, they always project their team as successful or attribute the success to others than to say, I did it, I did it, I did it. They will always be projecting it onto others. So you can sense, right? They get they are leaders even before they are titled to be leaders, right? So that's what the pattern I have seen. I don't know. We can talk in Q&A if there are any other qualities that others have seen. Happy to learn.
So we would love the participants to put your comments and thoughts, not just questions, but also your perspectives on what Mr. Jani is talking about, right? Now, I want to shift a little bit of the focus on what demands our attendees have, whether they are, top level leaders or they're mid level leaders. One of the things that is expected from them is really strategic thinking and decision making, right? So they are expected to have, as they grow in their careers, strategic clarity, right? How do you personally arrive at a decision? So tell us your experience or your input on what is it? Should we be looking at data first, instinct first? Is there some sort of pattern that we should learn to recognize? How do we seek strategic clarity of ourselves?
Okay. This is so topical, right? Few years ago, I would have answered it differently. But in this age of AI and machine learning, especially when I'm a founder of that company, we all know that ML works on data and data recognizes patterns, and that's how the machine learns. But what it doesn't have the intelligence of a human being, right? So strategic thinking for me all along has been a combination of three things: head, heart, and guts. And let me explain, right? This was one of the uh, what should I say, training early years when we went through head, heart, and guts. And when I see my journey as a individual, and just bear with me on this my thing, but it's more about a story. So I started off as a services person, I spoke about, right? Services person, as I said, our job was to fix systems which they are broken, and no medals for fixing it because that's your job, that's your job. So the only motivation a service person or everybody could get was connecting with the heart. So it was very important to build a team spirit with people and working with the heart and build that trust. That's what was one decision, heart, right? I switched to sales, started running sales teams and all. Head became important. That is analytics. Where are you selling? What is selling? What is not selling? Why is it not selling? What is the price? What do I need to do? Etc. Etc. That head and data, that is, became very, very important. And analytics became a pattern recognition, became a very important thing. Hey, if I'm continuing to lose with this segment, what is wrong? Is what we need to identify, isolate, and then fix. Third was what we called guts or instinct, what you call it. While data is a baseline, pattern recognition is important. Guts or instinct are very important to speeden up things, right? I can have best of the data and I can keep waiting for 100% accuracy, 80% accuracy, 90% accuracy. Nahi hoga. We will miss the bus, right? And uh, uh, this is all coming to fruition now in this when we started this, right? There's not enough data. You don't even know what you will build. You said yes, you will have a company. We met 10 customers. We had this inkling that we'll go about it. How will we do it? What will we do it? We didn't know. So that was on instinct, right? At times you have to let go and let instinct take over. There's a saying: if you have built a perfect product in a startup, you're too late for the market because you build something and it evolves, it every day changes, right? If you have a ready product which is perfect, you're too late. So it's a combination of last when I did my assessment. I mean, there is this assessment of head, heart, and guts has been done over decades. So initially it was very heavy heart. Finally, when I did it was very balanced head, heart, and guts. So a lot of data, a lot of heart into it, a lot of instinct going into it. Right? So that's how.
Lovely. Lovely. Head, heart, and guts. I'm going to remember that. But speaking of head and heart, how I want to go a little bit into the culture and motivation and human-centric leadership aspect of it, right? So how does, and you spoke earlier also about how you were really tough on the QBRs and the MBRs, right? So how does a leader really stay very deeply human and empathetic while he or she is still driving very tough targets? What are those leadership behaviors you practice, or that you saw your own leaders and peers practice, that you think more leaders should adopt?
See, for me, the most, uh, what should I say, interesting change was when I switched from HPE to EMC. And EMC, as I said, this was 2004, January. Yeah, January. And we were 20 people in the country, not even an office. Joining office was in a business center, which are now fancy name is co-working space. Those time it was called business center. And everybody told me, you are joining a higher end fire company, kya kar raha hai? But I realized when I stepped in, that was a very performance demanding culture, performance based culture, but with no disrespect for people. See, and that is what I learned and I inculcated. So one has to be empathetic, respectful to the people, but demanding on the target. And second, as a leader, as a manager at that time, my job was to ensure that people succeed. Because my firm belief, when you build trust on people, your firm belief is that each one who's coming to office wants to succeed. Nobody walks into office thinking, आज मैं fail होऊंगा. मुझे काम नहीं करना.
I
Right?
hope not.
No one, right? You can make out if there are people like that, so it's easy. So our job is to give them the clarity, the thought, the support to help them succeed, right? So that's what. And therefore, there was another company which I worked in that said that the belief was, I can't motivate you. Motivation is what you bring to the table. What we can do give you is the right environment to succeed. I mean, different thoughts, right? You cannot start motivating. Coming back, demand and empathy go hand in hand. So be respectful of the individual and be demanding on the task. And there will be situations one has to take a call because somebody is not able to live up to it. And most of the discussion we had was, it's not that you are unfit for this role or you are not capable. It's just that your skills and the demands of this role are somewhere mismatching. If you find something that is good for you, we'll find someone who's good for us. And long term, I've seen they have worked out very well. And I tell you, the biggest or the toughest decision for a manager is to let people go. Irrespective of whether it is restructuring or performance, it's very, very tough because you've built trust, you've built family-like relationship, you know everyone, right? And suddenly you have to let them go. How do you handle it is tough. But at the same time, as long as we are respectful about that and transparent about that, that has worked out well. So I would say respect for the individual, but demand for the numbers.
So I'm going to now, there are a couple of questions in the chat box, and I'm going to go to them for just a moment because it's related to what you were talking about, right? Jasmine is asking a question that a lot of managers who are older are asking. I've heard this question multiple times, right? The Gen Z is obviously personality-wise very different from how we have grown, right? And I'm sure our parents said that about us, and we are saying it about Gen Z, right? Saying that this generation is different and not as committed and not. So she's asking, how do you motivate Gen Z? I want to hear this from you because I'm sure in your current company you work with a lot of Gen Z.
We have a lot of Gen Z. I have a millennial and a Gen Z at home, in the sense you're not home, yeah, but one of them is working, one of them is finishing his masters. So first thing is we have to stop equating them with us. I mean, people like me, and I wrote a LinkedIn post on this many years ago called The Scarcity Generation. We are from a scarcity generation. We had to stand in queue to get a train ticket. We had to wait in queue for a telephone line, even a two-wheeler booking and everything else, right? We started with dial-up internet. Dial-up. And then when I moved to Gurgaon 23 years ago, I got 64 kbps DSL line. Oh, I have arrived, right? And suddenly 300 Mbps is also slow. So Gen Z, on the other hand, gets this as a baseline. Their experience of IT is all their apps which work like this. So when they walk into office, you give them a laptop which is not a MacBook or not as sleek as they are used to, right? Or the apps which are clunky, they're not going to feel happy about it. So it's a combination of things. How do you motivate them is where I would say it's much maligned generation, but I would say those are the ones who are helping us progress. Specifically, give them the freedom to create. Show them the bigger purpose. That's what everybody says, right? They are not motivated by money. Most of them, the money is their pocket money. Because they are not from a scarcity generation. They don't have to give this money back to their parents to run their household or everything. They've done nothing. It's their own, right? So money is not a great motivator. They live by the fact of FIRE, that is financially independent, retire early. Thirdly, they have seen the cycles where we let go people, right? Large companies are laying off people by doesn't saying, okay, restructuring. This was not the case when I started. You built loyalty both ways. Company said, you're here for life. I will give my life to the company as well. Today, when they see it other way around, don't expect loyalty from them because you're not showing them any loyalty. So it's a combination. The moment you step back and start seeing from their point of view, then you realize they are here for certain things. You've got to deliver those things to them and ask them for the work that they enjoy doing, right? So I don't know, Jasmine, whether I answered or not. I've tried my best, but I mean, this is wrong to say just Gen Z are not having stable mindset. They're very different. They're not like us. They are not stable, is a wrong term, but they are exploratory. They are young individuals, right? When I was 18, 20, when you were 18, 20, you had certain, at least for me, I had certain financial commitments to take care of, and therefore job was a necessity for me, for a family. Today they are free, right? So it's not stable. They will do what they enjoy doing, and it's our purpose, objective to give them that motivation, that enjoyment.
And their aspirations are very different from the slightly older generation. Like for us, buying a car and then buying a house, first buying a two-wheeler, then buying a car, then buying a house. That was like our aspirations. Today's generation doesn't even care. They'll take an Uber. They don't want to own a car. It's a headache for them. So it's a different thing. I shift a little bit because I'm super excited about your entrepreneurial journey because I'm also a new entrepreneur, so I have selfish reasons, right? Now, you've been obviously a corporate leader in large enterprises for decades, and now you're an entrepreneur. You're a founder, you're an advisor, you're a board member. I want to understand from you what really triggered this shift, and what has surprised you about entrepreneurship after such a long, illustrious corporate career?
Okay. See, in all my career, I have shifted jobs and roles when I'm at the most comfortable position, right? And that has helped me grow. Let me tell you when I say comfortable. And for everyone, if you can walk into office and work at 70-80% of the efficiency, and the work will still get done and probably much better than what it was being done, that's when me personally, I feel I need to change. I need to disrupt. And for me, it has always worked out saying disruption has always brought growth. So I've disrupted myself. I've gone and changed. So I would say it was 37 years of corporate life. And the realization was that I have built businesses, scaled businesses for large global corporations, but have not done it for myself. And this was the thinking in my all other three co-founders as well, because they are illustrious leaders from the same side, similar age group. And we said, Why can't we do something on our own, or can we do something on our own? That was the motivation. That was the drive. That was it. And everybody laughed at us.
Hmm.
Closer to 60, late 50s, 60s. How can you startup is for youngsters? It requires 18 hours a day shift and all that. We said, yeah, it's okay. And honestly, uh, it's been a great learning. The biggest thing was not because of energy, but I said, shit, we should have done it much earlier. Right. We could have started earlier. Not because the energy is less or anything. Oh, we could have done so much more. The second thing was, uh, sorry, we could should have done it earlier. And the second was when we were in a corporate job, at least me, I thought 37 years, I pretty much know about entire IT industry, right? I know how things work, how the things are, etc. You step out and realize there is so much more to IT that you didn't
Hmm.
even know existed, right? There are organizations which exist which are doing so well, which we were never even aware of.
Aware of, yeah. Hmm.
And suddenly that learning hits you. Ooh, that's why I should have done it earlier. So I would say happily charged and motivated. And that's why I call this as reboot or
Hmm.
RJ, or whatever I called that. RJ 2.0. That's my journey.
2.0, nice, very nice. So since we're in the topic of startups and all these new age companies, Ravi asks, how should young leaders prepare for the future of work and AI driven roles? Because just like startups, a lot of the smaller industry is changing, even enterprises are changing, and we ourselves are having to evolve. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I would say, as I spoke about, my 20s decade is all about digital first and learning obsessed. So if you have to prepare, it has to be learning obsessed. Things are changing, and AI, ML, it's all about, sorry, learning the new skills, new technology. I mean, give again, personal. I was all along an infrastructure guy. If you see my profile, it's been hardware, 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 hardware. It's never been software. Software development has never been any of our forte, all the three founders, except one of us, Ankur Vichal. And suddenly here we are, building AI platforms, building AI applications. And if you have followed LinkedIn, yesterday we announced that we have secured funding also. That gives us an endorsement. How has it happened? Because our own reading, learning has exponentially increased in last 1.5 years. So I would suggest that if you are in a job where things are changing fast and furious and you have operational role also, which is taking a lot of bandwidth, don't be comfortable. Challenge yourselves. Pick up new skills. If it means talking to millennials and Gen Zs, please do. I've realized that I learn most when I talk to Gen Zers in office or my two boys. And I'm not ashamed of asking, hey, I don't even know when we started, what the hell is this AI agent? What is LangChain? What is LangGraph? What is this library? What is this? How do you call it? What is various other jargon that we learn? So the only thing is the experience, and I'm sure all of you have this visual of architecture. So what changes are the building blocks and the jargons underneath. So as long as you're able to learn the experience, our experience of handling pressure, building large scale things will never go away. So as they say, AI will be successful with always human in the loop, right? So we are the human which have to bring that human but understanding of AI as well. So learning, reskilling is the key factor, is where I would say. And I'm seeing it's possible if I'm at the age of 62, can read about AI. I'm sure you're much younger, you can do all that.
Excellent. So we're moving a little bit from learning to a question. I'm scrolling back up. You said you had and I'm paraphrasing, you had the good fortune of having good managers to guide you, right? What if we are not coached? How do I build myself up? So one is, of course, about learning which is skill related, but as a personality, as leadership, how do I coach myself?
Okay. The fact that you're all saying that, how do I coach myself, means you're humble. You realize there are areas which you need to work on. That's a very, very good starting point. And I would say have that confidence that if you have reached this far, you have something in you. You bring that inherent capability. Right. So many a times when we feel, many a times at least, there are phases in my life also when you feel loss of confidence on when things are not happening good around you, you feel lack of confidence. And then somebody told me this, and I still remember. He says, you have come from where you were to here. That means you have inherent something in you. So just be that and feel that, uh, and bring that confidence back. So first, you have the humility, have the confidence, and there are enough and more coaching options available, external personalized coaching, or even documentation, or even learning courses available. Many a times we are very skeptical of all this. I would say be open, read, run through some of the YouTube courses and choose what works best for you. Many a times I also find some of them are too preachy, leave it. But each one of them has something to offer. For me, another thing was many times in office when we look around, uh, you look at somebody, you say, कि, how come this guy is in this role? इसको कुछ नहीं आता है, right? And you feel not good about it. But what I've realized over a period of many years is I look at what is that one or two quality that person has, which is taking him where he is. And you'll realize each one of those has one or two quality or characteristic which is very, very critical. Maybe that is what is taking him or her forward. So why can I imbibe part of it? That's the second learning. Again, these are all experiential. And something which I was told to me at one of the appraisal, which was very good, he said was, my boss said, don't focus on what's your weakness at this stage, at a later stage, right? Most of you are at a mid to growth stage of your career of going to senior position. Focus on what is your strength. Bring your strengths to work. There is a book also, but that's what he said. He said, my boss, he said, if I'm a very good debater, had my parents put me into a singing lesson, dancing lesson, I would have failed miserably. I would have been miserable. But had they put me in debating class, I would have done great. So likewise, put your strengths to work and don't worry about your weaknesses. Strengths will cover yourself. And let somebody else in your team cover the gaps for you. Right? So initially when I was starting, I said I was a heart guy. For head, I always use my finance person to help me. And slowly I learned those tricks. So it's okay to complement your skills with your team members. I don't know, Krishna Kumar, whether I answered to your satisfaction, but
Yeah.
there's
I don't know
no.
about him, but I think I learned a lot from this particular answer. I'm going to ask you to walk across the table now because you were talking about the leadership for that individual. But for now, when that individual starts looking at a team, Dhaneshwar asks, then, if you have a team of 50 people, you have a large team, and that entire team obviously has aspirations of growth. As a leader, how do you do it? Not everybody will have the same growth, not everybody deserves the same growth. How do you discern the top performers from the not so top performers, and how do you communicate that?
Now, if it is 50 people, I'm sure they are not 50 directly reporting to the Dhaneshwar, right? There are individual managers also. Many a times we train our managers to be, very keeping everyone happy. Left to manager, he or she will bring appraisal for, assuming Dhaneshwar, you have 50 people. I'm just saying span of control being 10, you have 5 managers or 4 managers reporting to you. Many a times this manager will rate everyone excellent and bring to you. Nahi sir, everyone is excellent in my team. If everyone is excellent, why is the performance not outstanding for the team or for the group? Right? If that was the case. And clearly it becomes very, very important to set objectives early on at the beginning of the year. I know there are debates about is appraisal the thing or appraisal not the thing. My view is, and that's what I said when I becoming a first-time manager, my boss told me diarize the session. So you set annual goal, but you set quarterly goals, but you do a monthly one-on-ones with those people, right? Saying what's going on, what's not working for you, what's working for you. And you will start seeing a pattern, and you're also able to coach them what are the areas they need to work on, right? And that helps you get an objective assessment of people, right? Many times we don't set smart objectives. We just say, okay, he's very good, he solved this project, he did this, he did that, but there was no objective given. So it's important to to define smart objectives at the year end, and every quarter do a review so that the individual is not surprised at the end. We tend to position everything at the year end, and then and we're not even noting down discussions, right? I have this habit of having a separate notebook on individual discussions on quarterly and noting it down so that when come annual appraisal or something, I have at least quarterly notes with me to give feedback or be critical. And don't be shy of giving uh, giving the feedback as it is, because if the person is mature, he or she will take it that way. Many times we are guilty of sugarcoating things, nahi, nahi, theek hai, because let go. No, be objective.
Also, not all of us have the ability to have the tough conversation. So it's very important
It's
to
very
know how to have the
difficult.
tough. Yeah.
It's very difficult to have tough conversation, and it's most difficult to have tough conversation with your A players.
Mm.
It's
Yes.
important to have certain conversation with your A players also.
Yes. So interesting. So speaking of how tough things are, right? I want you to now spend some time in a moment of personal reflection. Maybe, we're hoping to see, Rajesh Jani's vulnerability, right? So what role has failure played in your career? One failure or other failures that you perhaps are now grateful for and say, thank God that didn't work out.
Hey, there are two situations I'll talk, and one is more without naming. Okay, let me start with what I can name. So, when I joined EMC in 2004, I was a partner manager. I built partner network and I became South Asia partner champion and all that. So that was all good. 2005, we restructured and I became leader for one part of India, which is North and East. We used to call it district manager. I became district manager for North and East. Another person, my friend, became West, and one person became South. North and East was the smallest district, right? And my boss went to all the partners along with me and said, okay, we have reorganized. Rajesh is the DM, and everybody, obviously, the partners wanted to know which is the largest district. He said, largest, pata nahi, smallest Rajesh ki district hai. That was how my introduction was. For 2 years in a row, we were the smallest district. Year 1 or 2, I don't remember which kickoff, there were awards being announced at sales kickoff. Our team won 0 awards. 0. We were at the back of the room, sulking, drinking. An entire team gathered around me and said, boss, next year, I still get choked. We will make sure you are there. And
I'm getting goosebumps.
we will be there. I was so surprised that this failure brought the team together. It's not that we were failures. We had too many large bids going on in the market, but the decisions were getting delayed. And lo and behold, next year, all 3 large bids results came out, and we won all 3 of them. And
Wow.
suddenly we went from being 0 to the largest district. And that continued forever till date. Those districts in terms of business, we broke North and East into 2. Government, we split out separately. Even then, it was the largest. So that failure taught me that keep on putting the effort and the trust the team showed. See, it was very easy for team to say, forget it, I'm leaving because not even an award, I worked so hard. They said, no, next year we will be there. So that was one. Second one, I would say, without naming, uh, there are situations in life, right? When you are in a role and you realize that everything is around you falling apart, where you have worked so hard to be there, and you say, okay, why me? Why is this happening to me? And that is when I read this book, Alchemist, that that's my go-to, and I have gifted it to many people. The Alchemist book, he says, when things around you start falling apart, maybe it's God's omen of telling you it's time for you to look to a journey ahead or go forward. I would say there are situations in my life which happened, and that time when you're in a situation, you feel, why is it happening to me in this career when I've done so well? And you do certain things. And then I realized probably that was the best thing to happen to me, because that's how I stepped out. I did something else. I came out of my comfort zone and I got a much bigger opportunity. I mean, it's like, I would say, HP to EMC. My role initially got eliminated. I found a role which was working in the night shift. It was a very big role, but working in the night shift was not my cup of tea. And that's when I stepped to EMC. As I said, EMC was 22 people. Nobody knew EMC. Everybody said it's a hire and fire company. I said, I'll take a punt.
Mm.
When I look back, that changed my entire life trajectory and career trajectory. So I could have stayed there and felt comfortable, or I said, okay, that's maybe, and that's when I read Alchemist much later. But if you've not read Alchemist, I would suggest everyone should read that book.
Yeah. Also, it reminds me of a quote from Ginny Rometty, who was the CEO and chairman of IBM for many years. She always said, growth and comfort never go together.
Yeah.
You know, so I
One
mean
of my
that.
bosses moved to US many years ago, and I said, "Why are you moving?" At that time, moving to US was not a common thing. He said, "There is no disruption without growth." I mean, sorry,
uh,
other way.
no
There's no
growth.
growth without disruption.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
my younger
hmm,
one quoted this to me recently when he was doing his uh, undergrad, and he said, "For masters, I am moving to Chicago." I said, "Why? You're doing so well here." He said, "You only have taught me there is no growth without disruption. I have to come out of my comfort zone." He moved.
how beautiful, how beautiful. So Ravi asks, right, and since we're talking about growth and comfort, Ravi says, what is the uncomfortable truth about career growth that most professionals don't want to hear, but absolutely must understand? Uncomfortable truth about career growth that we don't want to hear, but need to.
Depends on what stage are you. So most,
Pick any stage, mid to senior.
sorry, repeat the question. What is the most
It says,
uncomfortable?
what is the most uncomfortable truth about career growth that most professionals don't want to hear, but they need to understand?
I would say we are getting outdated by the day if we don't keep up,
Mm, mm,
right? Many times we get stuck in our success, in our beliefs, in our thought processes. We don't disrupt ourselves. While we want transformation to happen all around, our own ability to transform is so limited because we are comfortable in our shell. We get
mm.
comfortable. We say, yeah, or things like, this is how it has been done so far. It will be done this way so far. I think that is where you start uh, the sort of devaluing yourself. The second thing is not questioning the status quo,
Mm.
because we get so used to things around us ki, but nobody is questioning in my department only or my surrounding. This is why are we doing this? Maybe we started doing this 10 years ago because there was this regulation was different. Do we still need it? Do we still need this approval process? Can I disrupt it? Those are the two things I would say. I hope.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I want to again switch tracks a little bit because a lot of questions coming on AI and its omnipresence in our life today, right? Everywhere we go. Rajesh is asking, is AI not a hype? Isn't it a natural progression in technology? I mean, it was bound to happen, so to speak. We started with floppies, HDD 10 MB, and today 2 6 GB in a mobile device. Similarly, ERP is a natural progression from individual applications. You add RPA and bots to ERP, and therefore you have improved processes. We had dashboards. Now AI and AI agents are automating processes and results. So what is your view? Is it not a natural progression?
I would say each, our industry has seen various inflection points or transition of the technology, which are very, very disruptive, or so to say, transformative. Right? Cloud was one such. Prior to that, probably shifting from mainframe to mini computers and was another. Network and internet was one. Right? We spoke, and each one of them were very, very exponential, and they brought in an exponential change to where things were being done. Right? Cloud absolutely shifted the way infrastructure was being built, and then SaaS softwares also changed the way software were being built or consumed or used.
Consumed, yeah.
Right? I would say AI is of a similar nature of a disruptive technology or a transformational technology. One can see, yeah, linear changes, but these are all step ups. These are all bumps. So when suddenly everything changes. So is it a hype or not? Time will tell. A lot of debate around, is it hype, it is not. But is it not changing fundamentally? Is it not changing life for you and me fundamentally? I think it is changing a lot. You see everyday debate around this deep fakes, or the way the movies are being made, the scripts are being written, or the most of the LinkedIn posts, Anjali, we were talking about LinkedIn posts today are AI generated, and suddenly persons who struggled in a language, and you see so proficient English being written. So these are all benefits that bring to the table. And what we are seeing is AI is also transforming the way technology has been envisaged. AI is a very, very broad term, but underlying ML, underlying various other technology which are driving the growth, are getting organization to accelerate few things, to improve service levels, to improve CSAT levels. And that's what we have realized at the whole. And I think there was this question around CoreOps.ai. Our premise when we started last year was that while AI is being talked about a lot, there are very few enterprise use cases being developed. And we met quite a few of our known customers, and everybody echoed that statement. And that's what we have embarked on. There are processes, there are operational areas in an organization where there is a need to bring in speed, efficiency, reduce friction. And that is where technologies like either machine learning or AI can bring that speed and efficiency. And while we were doing it, we realized that most of the operations of large organizations core operations run on SAP, Salesforce.com, Oracle, or other things. Excuse me. And can we infuse AI into this? Hence the name CoreOps.ai. So AI is, once again summarized, is a great step up on the technology side. What is important is to find the enterprise use cases to make it more realistic, to drive value out of that from the
Wonderful. So, Rajesh, we have only 3 minutes left, but I want to ask two questions. One is more, Ravi and Ria are talking about this. Since we're talking about AI, my one question will be on AI, and the other is going to go back to leadership skill. But they ask similar questions. So Ravi is asking, do you think AI will create more opportunities than it eliminates, or should professionals realistically prepare for a major workforce disruption? Now, Ria actually is giving an example of that, right? She says our team reduced from 50 to 15 to 12, sorry, from 50 to 12 as AI reshaped roles. What advice do you have for professionals who want to stay relevant and secure their place in an AI-driven future? So similar questions that perhaps you can answer.
So I would say combination things, right? If your team or you are doing something which is repetitive, which can be easily automated, which can be easily replaced by AI, you need to reskill yourself to get on to the next level. At the same time, I spoke about human in the loop. No AI system in enterprises at least will be all automated, which can run like that. There will be always some human in the loop, some process in the loop. So either you be that human in the loop or be someone who is skilling themselves onto the new world of AI. Reskilling becomes very, very important, because if we don't reskill ourselves, uh, it will be a challenge. I don't want to mince words by saying, yeah, AI will create more opportunities. Surely it will, but for the skilled person in that. So reskilling, uh, it becomes the key.
Wonderful. We're on top of the hour, but I do want you to leave us with one piece of advice to three sets of people who are on this, right? Young managers, mid-career leaders, and a C-level tech leader.
Okay.
One piece of advice for each of these three cohorts.
I will say young manager, based on my experience, focus on building trust through action, through rolling up your sleeves, and build trust with peers, with customers. That is, if you're young, starting, that's when you build trust. For mid-level, let go. That's when you start learning delegation. That's when you start learning that it's not important that you got to do everything. Can you encourage others or coach others to do what you're doing? And as long as you've done the first piece, that is build trust, encourage dissent, allow them to speak up, and positive dissent. Negative dissent is never good, but positive dissent, right? And make yourself redundant. That is for the mid level. Last level, I would say for a CXO level, right? You said?
Yes.
I would not talk about a startup CXO, because that's a very, very different thing. You again become hands-on, you become everything what you were starting.
You're covering all three levels in a startup C level.
Yeah. So yeah, but a CXO level, our job is to bring clarity to the organization. Define only top 2 or top 3 critical few things. Like, I respect Michael Dell for that. He had only 2 or 3 things that he'll say, I'll measure everyone by. Employee sat, customer sat, relative market share, financial performance. These 4. That's it. Nothing else. Everything else is noise. So as long as you can bring clarity to the team, these are top 3 things that I will want to see. That is it. Everything else is operational details. Let it be done by your leaders.
Excellent. Lovely words to close to. Thank you, Mr. Jani. This was an absolute pleasure. We really enjoyed speaking with you. I hope you enjoyed at least half as
loved
much.
it. At least I wish next time there are more voice interaction that could be help. Because
yes, what he's saying is he got tired of just hearing my voice.
No. I'm sorry. If that is what I would love to go back to in-person sessions and someday.
Let's do that. Abhishek, please take that feedback. We will need an in-person session next time. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you.